Interesting that the comedy of errors was revolved around the two identical twins and that they were separated at birth and they actually met where their parents both have got separated. And then I found two specific values that were found throughout the play, which was one was family, and the example was in Act Three, Scene Two, and it was a conversation between Luciana and S. Antipholus, saying that if Luciana accepted S. Antipholus as a husband, he would or she would become part of their family, and they'd become one. And then another value I found was women and femininity, and that's in Act Two, Scene One, and it was a conversation between Luciana and Adriana, and Luciana thought women should be subjective and submissive to men, and that they should listen to what men have to say and let men be more free, where Adriana thought the opposite and thought men and women should have the same power and freedom to do whatever they want. Um, an example of a word that I found difficult to understand was disparagement, which that means that a person is talking down or negatively toward a specific person in a lower social status. So found an example of that in the first part of the play, which was in Act One, and the Duke was talking to the merchant, and they were talking about how um, the merchant lost everything and that he needed a place to stay, and the Duke couldn't let him stay there because of their social status, and that the merchant was below them pretty much, and that they are like lower in the social standards, so he wasn't allowed to stay with the Duke. And then an example of how men and women are depicted in the play is that women have a lower social status than men, and that women should be subjected to the men, and that they should be able to stay home and do the chores that they need to do, whereas men could be more free and be unfaithful, and women kind of just have to deal with it. And that just proves that there was just kind of this social hierarchy between men and women, and that women had such low privileges and men can kind of just roam and be free. An example of this is Act Two, Scene One, and Luciana was talking about that. And then the audience was kind of would have reacted to men being characters. Um, it wouldn't really bother the audience that much because they knew that acting was kind of a men's job during the Elizabethan era. So if they saw a woman playing a woman's role, I feel like they'd be offended and kind of confused that a woman was doing a men's job. Whereas like now, like we would want that, so we would kind of try and break the gender rules. Two questions that I have were, what was your interpretation of the title of the play? And do you think family is important to the individual characters, or do you think that it's like the main foundation of the play?